There is one thing that makes a sailboat unmistakable. One feature that rises above everything else on the water. The mast. It's not just a piece of aluminum. It's the backbone of the boat, the key to catching wind and chasing freedom. When we hauled out almost a year ago, dropping the mast was not part of the plan. Rigging, not even on the radar. But as every cruiser knows, plans are written in the sand at low tide. Turns out the biggest challenge wasn't the rigging. It was fighting decades-old wires that just would not budge. In this episode, we tackle some mast rework and wrestle with one of those deceptively simple jobs that turns into a mini odyssey. We've got the mast scheduled to be raised in about 4 days. So it's crunch time on getting all the rigging done and everything with the mast done. Today, I'm gonna be putting on the old stay locks. We're basically just reusing them, but I got done punching out the old ones, cutting them off, punching them out. The great thing about using stay locks instead of swages is that we get to reuse them. Best way to undo these stay locks so you can reuse them, punch out that cone. You need to cut the wire as close to the stay lock as possible and then heat it up a decent amount. If you use sealant, I used 4200 when I sealed these 7 years ago. So heat it up just enough to where you can see that the sealant's melting. If you have a vise, it'd be best to use a vise. I don't have a vise, so I got creative. I used vice grips and I sandwiched the vice grips in between two boards and just punch it out. Brandy actually took the time to put a nice shine on these using a little polish wheel on the drill. The great thing about stay locks is you can reuse them as long as you have new cones. Cones look like this, like a little teardrop. You can't reuse these. Well, I guess you could, but you might end up with a demasting. These are really important. So we got new ones of these, and it's just a matter of separating out the wire to make kind of a claw. Well, before you do that, you got to slide on one end of the stay lock, and then you make your claw, and then you slide on your cone. And the tricky part of this is you got to then take that threaded piece that you first slid on, pull that all the way up to the cone. And before you pull it too tight, you need to re-spool the wire around the cone, making sure not to get any wire in that little crack, that split in the cone. And then once you get that right, you take your end cap and you thread it all together. I like cinching it all down first and making sure it all looks right before I add sealant. But the final step is to add sealant and then re-torque everything. We've decided to cut the back stay when the mast gets back up. We will terminal it off for the top of the mast, but we're gonna leave it long and just run a halyard when the mast goes up to secure the back portion. I just don't remember where I cut that or what kind of length that was. That was the whole reason we had Uncle Jim make us a backstay out of Dyneema for our trip down from Key West to Guatemala, because I didn't feel too comfortable with our backstay. So the Dyneema one worked out perfectly. It's just a little cumbersome when it comes to tensioning it. We had the opportunity here to switch it out back to wire, so I'm going back to wire because it's just easy. To measure out this new shroud, I'm basically stacking up all of the toggles that were already there, including the toggle connection for the turnbuckle. That way I can at least get pretty close to where it should be. If I go a little long, I'm okay with that. If I go a little short, I'll just have to live with it. But we do have toggles to make up for it. I really don't want them in there. That's the whole reason for measuring it this way, to get rid of those additional failure points. These sheaves were the reason Brandy went back to the States. She went to go pick these up along with a bunch of other boat parts. But there's a guy in the States that turns these out of Delrin and then pushes in a bronze bearing. So we should be a lot better off than we were with these old aluminum ones. Actually, for the head halyard, we had the ones that were meant for wire. So we weren't getting a really good bite into it. We didn't have any issues, but I think it'll be a lot easier to raise and lower now. So there's a bunch of packing peanuts shoved up into the mast, and I think the previous owner did that to prevent the wires from slapping, but I'm gonna take out as much of it as I can because they don't even work. The wire still slaps when we're in a really heavy anchorage or a really rough anchorage. So hopefully this other method will work a lot better. First, we tried sucking them out with the vacuum.
Is it working?
Two.
No, I think the
It's all
problem is
stuck, yeah.
It's too stuck.
Next, we reversed the airflow and tried blowing them out.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah.
It worked pretty well, but we weren't able to get enough force to blow out the peanuts that were further down the mast. But then we brought out the big guns, 150 PSI of pressure.
What you got there?
It's a big orange Tic Tac.
And what are you gonna do with this Tic Tac?
So we're gonna blow out our mast. So we're gonna tape it to this post pull here because I can only fish it down so far before it goes.
Ready. Ready! No. I mean, it's blowing it up. Okay, so I guess it was out of pressure. So Beau went and filled it up with air again. It's 220, so woo! Oh, that sounds much more powerful. All that to bring it over here for that. It's not working, love. Yeah. Try number 4,892. We now have another contraption. Caught my eye. Oh no, it's really.
Poor lovey.
It's really swelling up.
Yeah, it's swelling up.
So I was looking down the pipe to see if there were any peanuts in it, and Beau was taking it apart, kind of shoved it backwards into my life.
Bad timing.
I'm just glad my eyeballs are inset.
Sorry, lovey.
You didn't mean to do it.
We tried with the peanuts and we got a good portion of them out. Hopefully they don't cause us any problems because there's still some in there. but I think we can get away with getting the conduit in there and cinched up against the mast enough to get a rivet in there. We'll see. As we were sliding in the conduit, we ran into a snag, literally.
I don't see anything here. How many people it takes to get a wire out of our mast? Can you bring it back a little bit toward you and then push more?
Bring it back to it.
Getting more of it. Go. Yeah, go.
It is a nest in there.
It's still a nest?
Yeah.
Maybe we should try to push more? So close, yet so far away.
Just wanted to... Good job, Owen.
It's amazing how strong it is, eh? I suppose some of it's pretty heavy gauge. So.
Yeah. Wow. So we're gonna use this as a test piece for our rivet through the mast, because these are gonna be our new conduit and we're gonna rivet them to the mast. We just wanna make sure the rivets will hold. All right, we're gonna just open up a hole that's existing, not being used. I'm able to push on the PVC pipe right now. Here.
Oh, wait, where did that rivet come from?
Magic. Keep going.
There we go. So see how it mushrooms out? This will hold the PVC pipe to the mast in order for it not to bang around. And actually, we were thinking about doing it other ways, but this has been the best way we found it. Thank you to the Rogue Rigger on YouTube. That's how we found out about this. So we wanted to share how we're gonna do it. But yeah, I think this is gonna work really well.
Yeah, no more slapping. We just got done testing 2 different lengths of the rivets. You guys can see in there now, actually you can't really see it. The button is really small because this is a lot shorter. It was only 1/4 of an inch, whereas the first one we tested was 1/2 an inch. So we decided we're gonna go with the 1/2 inch. That way, if there's a little bit of error on our end and the PVC isn't all the way flush, that we'll get a good solid grip on it.
We've got this piece of wire that we bent that's about the circumference of, half the circumference of the PVC pipe. And then
actually, I think we should drill the hole a little bit closer, about here.
To rivet it? Yeah.
Rivet it.
See, it's nice to do practice run.
If you angle it up.
Yep.
Or even right here.
Okay.
So whatever that distance is. Yeah.
So then see how it wraps around the PVC. That way we can have it snug up against the mast when we're riveting it halfway through. 3
About, yeah.
3 inches?
3 millimeters.
3 millimeters, I mean.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't take the pipe all the way down to the base of the mast because our winches have screws in them and there's so many screws from our track and our winches that we can't find a flat spot to put them in. So we have to go just past the winches and to the
1/2 an inch
spreader. So
we're at 16 feet. Now I'm about 2 inches from your winch. Okay, that's fine.
That'll be better right there. Because I'm going to mark at the very end, you know. So we made a little measuring template to make this go quick. So we're going to use this channel on the mast as our datum. And this is Brandy's idea because she's a genius. And we're going to run this wire every 4 feet and mark it because that's going to be our hole for the PVC pipe. And then we'll put another hole. What did we determine? I think it was about 1/2 an inch.
I thought it was 3/4.
3/4 of an inch away. We need to run our messenger lines through the conduit and then
Before we put them in.
before we put the conduit in.
Yeah. I will not be putting my eye at the end of this tube.
Learn your lesson, huh?
It's pretty swollen still. This should work. Do you want me to stay on top of the boat with it?
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Success. These holes in the conduit are for the steam and deck lights, about at the height of the spreaders. We fished out the messengers before routing down the conduit, just to make it a little bit easier to get them through the holes.
So you're able to see it.
Yep. You can see it coming close to the mast. You don't need to pull tight, that tight. Or do you want to hold it? I can, Okay.
Got a system down now.
Made back in the days with men and men.
Yeah.
I was made back in the day.
On to the next project.
Still working.
It's gonna be a late night, folks.
See you in the morning.
Good morning. Today the mast is going up. Exciting stuff, but it's taken a lot to get to this point. We had a lot of help from some great people yesterday. And last night was a late night. We hung out with Alcino while he helped us do some wiring and finish up some little bit of last minute stuff. We still have a little bit to do, like securing these wires down and just last minute tidying up stuff. They're supposed to get here early morning, but the last time they came to actually drop the mast, they were 3 hours late, so we don't really have our hopes up of them being on time. Well, all that work and it's getting delayed. There's a protest happening, so it's preventing the main crane operators from getting from San Pedro to here. So without them, we can't do anything. But the unfortunate thing is it's supposed to rain all rest of the week.
We're just not gonna do anything.
And Evan's doing his non-rain dance. Hopefully it'll work.
No, I was doing a step dance.
A few days later.
Supposedly the protests have been lifted, the roads are open, and the crane should get here sometime today.
I was thinking is, are we gonna use anything to, like, should we use
they're both too short.
What else is too short? What else is too short? I just cut it wrong. So
You didn't cut those two though, or you didn't
I cut the uppers.
all four?
No, I cut the uppers, but our lowers are too short now, so something wonky's going on. We're switching them out anyways, but still, it's frustrating. To solve the length issue, we're using 2 toggles on the starboard side, one for the upper shroud and one for the aft lower shroud. Happy that the rigging went up. Now it's just a matter of getting everything adjusted, and I actually waited to cut the back stay and just did this stay lock real quick. Doesn't take long. Actually, if you pay for the time for the crane, you could just have the crane keep the mast up and just cut everything once it's in place. I'm kind of thinking, I wishing I did that instead of cutting the wire too short.
We're a sailboat again! Oh man, it's been so nice that it's now up. Now we can get everything back on and get the last minute things that we need to finish and get in the water where she needs to be, where I need to be, and where Beau needs to be. Thank you.